my name's Judy Miller. I'm the Environmental Program Manager for the Urbana Park District, and today we're going to go for a hike in the woods. This time of year is a little bit of a transition from early spring when the flowers were blooming before the leaves came out, and now as the leaves are coming out, we're kind of transitioning to late spring into early summer. I've got my face mask in case I need it, and we'll do some social distancing as we hike along as well. Let's go see what's in the woods. We've only gone a few feet, and here right outside the Nature Center is shooting star blooming. This is a prairie plant, one of the earliest to bloom. We're at the entrance of the Busey Woods Gateway Trail. This is the Habitat Garden on the west side of the Nature Center. Moments ago we had a Cooper's hawk fly through. Unfortunately my camera was not rolling at that time. He likes to hunt at the bird feeders. Cooper's hawk nest in Busey Woods, and they're kind of an interesting story. They were on the threatened and endangered list for Illinois for quite a few years, and then they discovered suburban and urban bird feeders. They like to eat small birds. They're a forest-dwelling raptor, so they can navigate through the trees, and they figured out just where to find them right here at the bird feeding station. We've stopped here at the Gateway Trail exhibit because this is a great place to see what kinds of birds fly through this part of Illinois. Crystal Lake Park in Busey Woods is a fly-through patterned area. A lot of birds stop here to rest and get lots of food before they continue up north to breed and nest up north in the Arctic. Please stop here and check out all the information we have about the birds and the insects they like to eat. Please also note that we do have some rules about the woods. We ask that you stay on the trails and you leave your bikes at the bike rack, and please don't walk your dogs in the woods. Busey Woods is considered a nature preserve, and that means that we keep it for the wildlife. When I hiked last week, there were just a few of these lovely purple flowers blooming. This is wild geranium. It looks very much different than the geraniums that you'll buy in the plant stores. It's now in full bloom throughout the Habitat Garden here on the Gateway Trail. Here's a plant that you'll see along the highway in vacant fields where the farmers have chosen not to plant. It's wild mustard, very pretty yellow flowers. You'll find vines growing up along the trees in Busey Woods. There are some that are very lovely to take a close look, and then some that you should stay away from. This plant here is Virginia creeper. It has 5 leaves and is not poisonous. In a little bit I'll look for some poison ivy and I'll show you that. We've just crossed over the bridge over the Saline Branch and are on the boardwalk trail. This is the south half of the woods. It is still underwater. We don't hear any frogs right now because we had some really cold weather last night down in the freezing area. But the boardwalk trail goes off down into some dirt and wood chip trails. The forest floor is now covered in greenery, and the canopy is starting to really leaf out. In a couple weeks, we'll be in full shade. Here's a late spring flower. This is the phlox, similar to the garden variety, but it grows wild in Busey Woods. We found a patch of wild ginger. The flower is at the base and is nondescript. It doesn't have to be flashy because it's pollinated by ants. There's a whole patch of them here. Those rounded leaves are the ginger, wild ginger plant. We've stopped at one of the pop-out interpretive stations in the woods. This one talks about how the woods changes from season to season. Here we have spring with the wild geranium blooming, maple trees coming out, moving into fall with the squirrels looking for seeds, and into winter with the snow and ice. We have a plant with alternate leaves that twists as it grows. It's called false Solomon seal. False because the flowers would hang underneath the leaves, where true Solomon seal, which we have some of that out at Meadowbrook Park, comes off the top of the plant. This is the state flower, the purple violet. There are, I believe, 10 species of violets, 10 or 11 species of violets in Illinois. They're not all purple. They can be white and yellow and purple and white. One of our early bloomers is almost done. This is the Virginia bluebell. It will be done seeding in the next week or so. Beautiful blue tubular flower that has to be pollinated with an animal that can get its proboscis or mouth part up into the tube. Poison ivy can come in several different ways in the woods. It can be an erect plant like this, or it can be a hairy vine that I'm still looking for. Notice that it has 3 leaves, with the one in the middle kind of a mirror of itself, and the 2 on the side look like mitts. Though this plant is poisonous to humans, it makes you break out in a rash and become very, very itchy. There are lots of animals that will eat it, and some mice like its berries. This is the Virginia creeper that we saw at the entrance to the woods. Similar to the poison ivy, but if you notice, it has 5 leaves. The best word of advice is leaves of 3, let it be. Leaves of 5, let it thrive. We're now almost halfway through the woods at another pop-out interpretive site. This panel talks about the shifting views. A lot of times we only look at what's right in front of us, where if you look down at the forest or the pond level, it looks a lot different than when you get to about eye level, and then even more different as you scale up to the tops of the trees. Animals and plants live all along this range in the forest, from top to bottom and bottom to top. The forest floor, which was covered in green and white flowers and purple flowers, is starting to change. The yellowish leaved flower plant that you see here is the toothwort, which bloomed in late March through April. It's starting to finish up with its growing season and be done until next spring. This is toothwort again, not just starting to turn yellow, but look at the top. These are the seed pods from the flowers. The flowers were a purplish light pink color. They're done, and now the seeds are ready. This is another false Solomon seal. It shows a better twisting going on as the leaves come up. No flower though yet. This is the mayapple. Quite a bit of it all together. Mayapples will come up as single leaves, or if they have 2, they'll have a flower on them. They're called mayapple because that flower will turn into a little green apple during the month of May. This plant is poisonous, so please don't pick the apple. This is the mayapple with the fruit. It's not rounded yet, but it has finished blooming.
Yeah.
In parts of the woods, you'll find scattering of what looks like grass. It's actually wild garlic, kind of like chives. If you rub it, a piece of it between your fingers and smell, it'll give an oniony kind of smell. Let's take another look at mayapple. Here you can see how erect it can be with its flower head in the center of the two leaves. It's almost like a little mini forest in itself. We're now on the other side of the pond where we saw the different layering of the trees of the forest. This pop out that we're on now is our pond pop out. All that green globby stuff you see is algae. This is an ephemeral pond or seasonal pond. It just means that the water will dry up and all the animals that live in here have to be able to live when there's no more water. Many of them will go through metamorphosis, such as the dragonfly nymph, and then leave the water and become a flying insect. The ponds in Busey Woods were once part of the saline branch of the Salt Fork River. In 1909, it was channeled to cut down on flooding in Urbana, and these ponds would have been the riverbed or the stream bed, and now are cut off from that source. So all the water that you see in the ponds are from runoff. There's a lot of dead matter from the leaves from all these trees, and that makes the nutrient level very high and thus a large quantity of algae. We do get mosquitoes in here, quite a few. They like this kind of still water as well. So we ask as the weather warms up that you come dressed expecting mosquitoes. Put repellent on, wear long sleeves and pants and good quality boots. Though we don't like mosquitoes, lots and lots of the birds eat them, and the dragonfly that I mentioned just a bit ago is able to catch them in flight, and it's one of their favorite food. So when you see dragonflies, thank them. These white, very fragrant flowers are from the bush honeysuckle. This is a non-native plant and highly invasive. It's one of the first shrubs to leaf out, and as a result shades out many of the spring wildflowers. Birds eat its berries, but the berries are more seed than flesh, and therefore not very nutritious for birds. They also will nest in the shrub. However, the shrub is a little open and a little low to the ground, and so predators can get into it. The Park District manages to remove this plant in Busey Woods. Here's one we missed. So here, right at the beginning of the trail that I missed earlier, we've got Virginia creeper again growing on the tree, 5 leaves. And right next to it, we have another vine growing that has 3 leaves. And this is the poison ivy in the vining way. It usually is a hairier vine. All parts of the plant, including the roots and the vine, are poisonous. Thanks for joining me on the hike today. During the month of May, the Park District is sponsoring a CU Backyard BioBlitz. A BioBlitz is an opportunity to inventory all the plants and animals that live in your yard, and we're asking you to try it out. If you go to the Nature Center's Facebook page or the urbanaparkdistrict.com page, there's a link that will tell you more about it. Hope you can join us.